Hi, this is Cecilia from Tarot by Cecilia, and this is your weekly tarot guidance for the week of August the 14th through the 20th of 2017. How's August going for you so far? This week we are right smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. We're between the lunar eclipse in Aquarius and the pending total solar eclipse in Leo. What a week, okay? Mercury is currently retrograde. What more can we throw in there? I think that's enough. Needless to say, you may not know which end is up this week, okay? And as the changes are swirling, which they most definitely have to be, it's like, okay, let me off this ride. But, I have to tell you that in spite of all of this, I feel that for the most part, for many people, these eclipses represent really, truly positive change. What it takes to get to that positive change may not feel as good in the process sometimes for some people. But, when I look at this, the first thing that I want to say is wild horses. I don't know why. Coming off of that full moon last week. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. What's going on? It's your hopes and your dreams and your happiness. And you're probably like, okay, is it right? Is it left? Which way am I going? What is going on? And it's not a time for decisions unless a decision must be made. It's that type of an energy, okay? It's not 100% clear. Things may feel as though they're not in your control and you're trying to rein them in. What I see here is a great deal of emotion for this week as well, okay? And what happens when we talk about this? See, it's not just, we're in the middle between the two eclipses, okay? So it's not a full moon and it's not a new moon. But at the same time, the energy is so intense of what is going on that we still have to remember how far that spoken word can go. So it is kind of like, okay, let me think about things before I say them, that type of thing. And if you can catch a moment for yourself, it'd be a good thing. That just kind of like chill for a little bit and listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to your intuition and what is going on, because your rewards are coming. Okay? It's soon going to be time to gather, to harvest, that type of thing. It is on its way, and that's important to remember. Now, there are those situations that have given you pause, where you've been like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can see my way out of this. I don't know what's going to happen. Da 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 da. But then there's your wishes. You can make this happen. The choices. It's interesting that it's happening this week. There are choices which are opening up to you. And this is a big finally. But look at you. You're like, oh, I don't know. Is this right? Should I do this? Is this wrong? Is that really what I want? You have to remember that making no choice gets you nowhere. And making a choice, even if it's a wrong choice, doesn't mean you can't choose again. But it's like it's opening up. I want to use the word portal, because I have been feeling as though November, in that area, like maybe toward the third week, once we get Neptune direct again, there's something going on, where you've achieved that sweet spot, that freedom, because that's exactly what it's about. That thing that you have felt chained to. You're at the crossroads this week. Okay, what can I do? Going over every possible scenario in your head. Overthinking, over worrying, that's not what you need to do. All right? And you don't want to like look at an opportunity that's available to you and say, I don't know, that wasn't the way I thought it would be. Come on, maybe the way you thought it would be is not the way it's meant to be. All right, but you can still have what you're wishing for, which is happiness. Okay, the cards are very, very clear here today. I'm sorry if I'm getting really emphatic, but this is, it feels so important. All right, this is such a crucial month, and this is such a crucial time. And to be at this crossroads that I see here, it gives me the absolute chills, okay? When it comes to your hopes and your dreams and your happiness, and the wishes that you've made, all right? And remember, they're coming through hard work. They're not coming from like sitting around and hoping that things happen. It's that being able to stand up again, that being able, like the dawn of a new day type of thing. You're not down and out anymore. You're back up, you're manifesting, and you're working on creating balance in your life. I think that at this point, your faith is probably the strongest that it has ever been. Because, there are some of you out there who have said, yes, you know what, Cecilia, I am going to write a book. Because if you were to recount this tale of all of the things that have happened to you and the faith that it took you to get through it and bring you to this point, what I see this week is you being able to rise to the challenges of manifestation and how to create. It's like almost like concocting, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. It's like when we become creative, we do things we might not normally have done. Interesting, right? Yeah. There's so much going on, not just for you, but around you. And there is a sense of, see, this thing that you're trying to escape from. It's like a situation. It could be where you live, it could be a relationship, but whatever it is, you're like, okay, I'm just going to quietly go about my business because I'm making this happen. And we've talked about that list that you have. It's a very detailed list. I have to do this, 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 and this. Oops, wait a minute. I need to do this before that in order to not wind up having to backtrack or whatever. Like, you want to get it right. So there's a great deal of attention to detail. There's also, see, what you put into it now, come September, I want to say by the equinox. Could be as early as the full moon on the 6th, but I say by the equinox, you're giving thanks for what you have accomplished, the changes that you have made, and that emergence of the new identity that you've been creating. It's no longer tears of pain. It's becoming tears of joy. It's not showing it as much as joy as it is like survival, that kind of thing. Like, I got past it. Wow. Like those tears of relief that you shed when you realize that you have done what you have to do. The universe has had your back and you make it to a better place. So you're being guided through all of this. But whatever you're choosing to do this week, it is crucial, okay? There is no other way to put it. Don't keep second guessing all of that and thinking about it too much. So, lots of mental activity here this week, as well as, physical activity. And, you're just looking for a break from the challenges. I feel that, like again, November is when you get to breathe. I think the challenges stop way before then, but you've got a bunch of things worked out, and by November, you're like, okay. But, right now, the success that you're looking for, it's definitely, you're in breakout mode this week. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just need to look around. I hadn't even looked at everything yet. You are in breakout mode. Whatever has prompted you, whatever has urged you between the two eclipses, which are both active right now, and Mercury retrograde, which is going on, and all of the other things that are going on, you are so ready to go through that next door. And your commitment is to your change, drastic change. But, here's the thing. You're in charge of these changes. You kind of feel like you're not, but you are. You really, truly are. It's just that when August arrived, you actually just became swept up in the momentum of everything that's been happening. And this is going to continue, okay? Like I've said before, it doesn't drop you off until September the 20th when you emerge again, once Mercury's shadow is over with. But you are looking for that next chapter. You're looking for your destiny. Everything is set in motion. Like, there's no stopping it now, okay? You can't say, whoa, wait a minute, hold up. That's not going to happen. Change, it has happened. Like I said, August is, like a tornado going through. It's this big whirlwind, and it's going to pick you up, and it's going to put you someplace else. And I think once you once you emerge on September the 20th, I really think that you're going to like where you are. All right? And it's not so much like this week you're saying, see ya, hate to be ya. It's kind of more like, I'm done. It's time to move on. I've had enough of this, okay? Might have been all right at one point in time, but I'm done. And you have such mental clarity with it, even with Mercury being retrograde. So you know what it is you want to do. And you're working on that whole, like, coming into your power again. Because it was lost for a while. All right? So there's definitely a change that's coming here. Now, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, the next 6 weeks, where does that put us? The end of September. Okay? There's a great deal of success then. And mid-October is also a very interesting time. There's something going on then where you really feel like it's not that you're not at the future, but you realize that there's more coming. Okay? See, I think a lot of you just view one thing in your mind. And we have this talk all the time. What is going on is not all about one thing and one thing only. Okay, there are many things that are happening and many changes that are coming. So by the time you get to mid-October, you're like, oh, look at that. There's more that's going to come my way. There is a future out there that I didn't anticipate, and it's a successful one. So I'm really liking this. It is meant to be done even though this month is pretty chaotic, okay? The whole thing is meant to be done taking your time. And where, like I said, you want to get it right the first time. I don't feel like we want do-overs. I'm one of those people, like, if I buy something, I do not want to have to go to the store to return it. I want it to be right when I get it. And it's like, this is how you're feeling about your life. You already know what didn't work before, so you want to figure out what will work now. And that's just it. You're all about what you can manifest, and like your wishes, you're winning. Okay? Wow. And you're putting the balance back in your life that you need. See, there's so much fulfillment that's coming. Now, you may not see it this week, because this week you're really going, oh, man, I got to make up my mind. And you're prompted. Believe me, it's like, that keg of dynamite that gets you going. And eclipses, they tend to do that, okay? So there's no sitting around being idle going, oh, yeah, I'm tired of my life. Yeah. Life is saying, get up off that couch and go do something about it. Now, back on July 24th, when Mercury entered shadow, what I said was, today is like entering the tunnel and trusting in the journey through the tunnel to get to the other side of this. You can't see where you're going. You can, but you can't, because there's too much that's going on around you. And I'll say it again, it isn't all about you. So when you come out the other side, so is everybody else. And what has happened to them along the way, and what changes have occurred in their life, which will affect your life. So, there's so much karma that's here, okay, where the universe is working to balance things out. I think that, by the time you've gotten past all of this, you're going to see just how much more fair things have become. That's the best word that I can use for it. Your goal is to get to the equinox. All right. That's where I think you realize that all these choices that you're making and all these things that you're doing now, that they're really coming to fruition. And there's still so much fire energy that's behind you. Mars and Leo. Mars is in a really good place. I don't know if you listen to Mars and Leo on Patreon, but, it shows the course of these events. And this week was definitely a part of that, okay? But the change is so strong. The passion for the change is so strong. You still have the sun in Leo. So, like I said, all of that fire is there. The thing of it is, though, is that, like, your perspective regarding all the change, sometimes you're going, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Because, all of a sudden the cards have changed on me a little bit here. And it makes me wonder, is there a reason this week that you have to look in different directions? Because some of you, yeah, that's me, tapping the card on the table. The Legacy of the Divine Tarot this week. Beautiful deck. There's something that it just has to end. Like a door that you have to close. And I think that's what you're choosing this week. You're choosing how you're going to go about doing it. Like finally. So that you can get to that new beginning. Oh my God. There is just... And you know what? It's like, it's all part of that. Like I said, this is chaotic. It's like when you make up your mind, or when you make a choice, it's like, boom, on to the next thing, boom, on to the next thing, boom, 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 boom. There is no rest for the weary this week. This is an action-packed week, and it just keeps on going. All right? Most definitely. Change. All right, here we are, coming up toward that eclipse again. All right? There's been so much hype about this eclipse. And I urge you to go listen to the video for that as well. Because I'll tell you what, your rebirth comes after that eclipse next week. There is no doubt in my mind. There are powerful forces at work, powerful changes at work. And the universe is saying, you're there. You're ready to rise to, not even to the challenges, okay? It's like you're getting past the challenges. You're closing the doors. You're figuring out how to do it. And this is your week. So I can't wait until we see what's going on next week with the eclipse actually happening. And I will be taking that day off. Okay? As in no personal readings scheduled that day. So that I too can go outside and see some of the eclipse. It's a once in a lifetime event. So I'm hoping that for those of you who are in the U.S. and able to view it, that you make your plans this week to get out there and do that. Because it will be on a Monday. Oh my word. This is a big week for you. It really truly is. And it's not like there's no turning back. It's only going forward. The question is, are you going right? You going left? What are you going to choose? But I think you'll choose properly because the universe is definitely guiding you to where you need to be. So I want to thank you all very much for being here, and I'll see you here again next week. Take care.